Okay, here is my prototype. I am going to basically make this one, but I wanted to put a ribbon in the back of this sentiment. So I will change that up just a little bit. So watercoloring the roses. Okay. Okay, this ink stamp comes from this 12-month set that is I can't even really read what that says. Marcella Howley. Flourishes, maybe, I think is what it says. Yep, copyright 2010. Okay, so here's the rose and June. And this cute saying, have a great birthday. Kind of goes well with the rose cursive embellishment. They are kind of in harmony. Okay, I'll let those dry. I like to get the back of my card ready. So if it's messed up and I don't like it, I don't accidentally put my final pieces together. And I have found this really cute stamp that I love to death. And it says that the most special thing about this card is the person holding it. I love that. So if that's good, then we'll let that dry. Looks good. Okay, well, I have already prepared my next sized die cut. It has been pre-embellished, embossed, and then I used this light blue paper, and this is olive green ink that I used a brayer with. Let's see, where's my brayer? Okay. So I just went ahead and went up and down, and what I realized was when I went sideways that the ink went randomly in between the different gaps, and I really liked the way that it came out, that I did it on that way on purpose. Okay, so then I cut a square out. I try to roughly make it, this is equal to this is equal to this. These pieces are intended to eyeball and look roughly the same size. Okay, So the next layer would be that piece coming on here. Okay, but first we're going to get the rose watercolored. And I used Pixie Pink for the main coloring of the pink. And then I highlight it with Melon Mambo. And I really would like to get some more refill inks because I'm kind of depending on collecting the ink from the pad to get my ink for the watercoloring. I know it's kind of silly, but when you buy things secondhand, you kind of have gaps in your products. And I really don't have pink products in abundance. So pink, I need to find that on eBay, maybe a refill, because I think it's actually retired color. And try to load it up with as much as I can before I start, so I don't have to keep loading it up and trying to match the color. Okay. Like I said, I really just need to put a couple drops of the color on here instead, but I don't have the refill dropper. And so for now, that's what this is, the process. And again, this is called Pixie Pink. Okay. I'm starting to see why they're so expensive and so successful. Those alcohol markers can save a whole lot of time. I'm probably going to invest in those soon. It helps you so you're also not getting your paper warped with water. So that's why I dip it in the pad last, so that most of the water is soaked out, so it's not saturating the paper. It's a nice soft pink. It's not too light, and it's certainly not too dark. And you can always gradate it by being a little bit more watered down, but yeah, the most time-consuming part of this card is the watercoloring of the rose. Kind of peaceful. I don't know, I'm trying to do all 12 months of the different flowers. It's kind of nice to know what flower is in season during that month. They're typically either naturally blooming or available at the month that they're representing. And I'm going to turn this into, I mean, the sentiment on it can be changed, but my primary is to have birthday cards for each of the months and the representation of the flower for that month helps to distinguish which flower, which month. But the sentiment tag can always say just a note, thinking of you, just hello. But sentiment tag could really be anything. It doesn't have to be a birthday sentiment. I'm just trying to have a stock hold for birthday cards on hand. And I also like plants and flowers. It's one of my first hobbies that I got introduced to by my father. He was always outside in the garden, loving on his plants, learning about them, caring for them while I was growing up. I developed a love for plants. He much preferred plants that provided food, and I think I favored plants that were aesthetically beautiful. But who doesn't like all that fresh food? There's nothing better than a fresh orange or peach or tomato right off of the plant itself. Nothing compares. Fully ripened. Okay. So that's my main color, and I'm gonna have a highlight color that's dark to accent the edges. Oh, and this color, what is it? It is called Melon Mambo. This one's really dark. I started off trying this color, but it just saturated the colors that you couldn't really see the distinguishing elements between the petals. So went with Pixie Pink. I'm just adding a highlight around the edges of the petals and the different layers, giving it a little bit more of a depth to the details of the rose. It helps to distinguish the two flowers and the coloring separation between the two, even though they're the same color. There are some amazing hybrid roses out there with multi-tones and dual tones. So there's all kinds of choices to play around with the color of roses, really. Amazing hybrids. The bud I just chose, I think, to just accentuate the outside part. Petal separation part. And I just kept it simple like that so you could see the two different tones in that bud. and I'm just gonna put an outline to the shape of the rose because I want to show the two different tones of pink in that. And just in case I got pink on the leaves, the green is a darker color. And so I did green last. And this color is one of my favorite colors. Oh, actually, this is the wrong one. Okay, so I used Old Olive for the embossed ink because it's on top of the light blue. It's a little darker. But the color on the white paper that I'm using for the leaves is actually one of my favorite. Pear Pizzazz is one of my favorite colors on green. It's just such a very, what did I say? It's such a realistic green when it comes to plants. It's got just, the tone is just so, to me, just perfect to represent the color of the grass, leaves. Just great. So, I did try to highlight the outside, but I realized it didn't quite matter, so I'm gonna actually just color it all in. So the card is kind of like a monotone coloring of teal and blue. And the pink is your contrast across the color wheel to stand out and say pop. And using the white background works best for me because when you're coloring with paper that has color, it's really hard to tell what your colors are going to turn out to be when you're finished. So this is the Pear Pizzazz color. And that's the end of the color of the rose. Okay, we'll let that dry. And the next thing I have here is the sentiment. The sentiment has, okay, so the sentiment is a rectangular cutout. It's mainly going to be white, but I'm going to accent it because it's just such a stark white color that I'm going to gradiate its contrast with a little light blue. And I use Bashful Blue. It's almost a dead dry pad, but it still gives me good clouds and other light blues that I need when I'm like squeeze out just a little bit more. And I'm just trying to pat some of that blue just so there's no stark bright white coloring. So it's not quite solid and complete. It's kind of blotchy looking. That's the way I want it. And I've got a pen. I'm going to outline the rectangle. Where did I put the example? There it is. Okay. Yeah. So I'm just going to carefully take the Pretty Peacock color, and I'm going to just draw along the tagline. Ooh, that was a little wobbly. Okay, I'm going to take that same color, Pretty Peacock, and I'm going to take this really cool new blending brush I got. Interesting shape, kind of like a toothbrush shape. And it just picks that ink up really quick. Okay, and I'm going to kind of brush a pattern around the edges, kind of randomly, but kind of consistent around the border and the corner. Kind of looks like you're feathering comes on really, really thick at first. So gotta be real careful. Trying to make it look even, not too blotchy, but yet kind of looking random at the same time. You just don't want it overly heavy and weighted in one side or the other. This one, actually, you could see the divot of the straight line. Let's see, I'm going to throw that off by throwing a little more on this side. And you can go over it again if you don't like how it looks. You can kind of blend it a little bit more once it's not so full of dark ink. And it will get an overall effect. Without having to get a second piece of paper, you can get that border effect. I can't fit another sentiment in the amount of space I have. So instead of putting a second frame, I put the frame on the actual sentiment. Just going to straighten it up a little bit. There. And that's how we got the sentiment part. And this is the part I wanted to add to it that I hadn't done yet, which I would like to have a nice ribbon on banner on the card. And so, yeah, that's got the peacock coloring. Definitely, yeah, that looks good. I'm going to try to look at the center line between here and best judgment where that might be. Guesstimate right there. Looks good. And I'll take it across. Let's see, do I like it? Okay, I'm going to pick a different one that I made just because there's just a little funny line right there. I'm going to pick a different one. Okay. Sometimes making it look straight is also just making a judgment between where the die cut looks straight and the border line is straight. Sometimes there's a happy medium between the two, which helps to balance and make it look more even than it actually is. Sometimes the eye allows us to have a little bit of grace towards straight lines when they're not exactly horizontal. Okay, so we'll put that right in the center of that little satin bow. I don't think, yeah, it's definitely a centering style on this one. Oh yeah, and I would like to just fill this in just a little bit. The ink doesn't always just fill in perfectly, and I have a pen to fill that in, and here it is. Okay. So mainly the B in birthday looks like it really needs some touch up, and just a little bit in the H right up here. They just don't have a solid black ink. And so first I make the outer outline and then I fill in. And I fill in the bits that didn't quite come out solid. Same thing, we'll go on the outside. Oop, it's going to be a little thicker now. And then I'll go in, back in on the inside. And of course, this one looking dark makes the rest of them look a little bit like they need a touch up. The only ones that really stand out are the thicker lines, but they just kind of have a need for a little bit of fill-in. Okay, so I am pleased with the evenness of the coloring now. And oops, got a little bit of that ink from the Pretty Peacock on here. I don't want that on the front. And yep, there was a mistake on that side. This heavier 110 paper is forgiving, and you can use the second side and not see through to the other side, which I've already tried a stamp that didn't work out. So, and I just noticed because it's against a colored item, I'm gonna get these edges filled out so they don't stand out. I don't really want that contrast on purpose. So we're going to color those in. And that one's pretty much done. Oh, it's the side. That's the side. That didn't get done. Okay. So we're looking for the center. It's right about here. And again, sometimes we have to balance between the two different horizontal lines so that it overall looks pretty straight. May not be technically straight, but the eye. You know, I'm gonna need some glue for this, I think. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna need glue. Okay, so that's not gonna stay with just tape, so. Okay, I'm very pleased with how that looks. So, just need a little bit of time to dry. I'll go ahead and get this ready to put onto the cardstock. Okay. Oh my gosh. Oh, that was a fail. Yep. Okay, let's see. If I do it fast enough, I might be lucky and I might be able to save it. Oh my gosh. So close to being done. But I forgot to put the flowers in it. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, let's see. I'm going to take this off, the paper parts. But the double stick glue, I'm going to stay there. Keep there. And the flower. Silly me. Okay, I gotta put the flower in the window. I think we saved it. We'll see. Okay. And now you're gonna act up. Oh, so the end, of course. Right at the end. So this is going to be definitely. Okay. Let's see if we can save it. Okay. So without the tape, I'm gonna make up with the glue, which is probably what I should have done in the first place. The glue also helps you to settle things down before you're done. That's another thing I could have done differently. Luckily, none of the corners ripped. Looks like the paper's still in good shape. Very lucky. Lucky mistake. Okay, so we have the frame with glue or tape for the rose. This is going to be a little harder to aim the rose to be exactly where I want it to be because of all that glue and tape. Okay, so I know that it has to be centered. And the bottom leaf is going to get cut off a little bit. I want the June to be straight with the parallel lines. And so right there is right about where I want it. And so, yeah, got glue all over the place. Yay. This is messy. It's not fun unless it's messy, right? Mess is a part of living. Okay. So, now, let's see. Did we save it? And again, I recycled this paper. You can see. Here's that got like all blurred when I printed it. So. Okay. Big challenge. Get those lines straight. And I think we did. And I think it looks good. I think it got saved. You saved me. Okay. Yeah. And so that is my June rose birthday card. Oh, and the inside I normally take a liner, the same, same soft blue liner that this embossed paper was made out of. And then I put cotton resume paper, 25% cotton. Oh, and I don't have a roller. My tape roller's messed up. So I'm not going to put the roller in right just now. You can imagine me doing that. And so that's what it would look like once that's done. There's the final one with one of them already put in there. But see, I added the ribbon to that. And I think that makes such a difference between the elegance of this card. Having that little satin ribbon just really finishes it off. Okay, so I like it. Hope you do too.